And here she is, talking to her ex, fantasizing about him, physically seeing him, moved into the same building he's in. I'm losing my trust. And how are we supposed to get married without trust? This is bad. It's very bad.
Hello my friends, you're listening to Ebird Online, and I'm back with another review. Guys, this week something happened that should have happened, I think, about 2.5 years ago. That's right, finally, Gino and Jasmine get a professional in to help them with their so-called relationship. So before we dig into what's led them to this point, let's all just take a little trip down memory lane. Yes, that's right, it's 90 Day Fiance Before the 90 Days, Season 6, Episode 8. And this episode's called Misunderstood. But unfortunately, guys, we understand all too well. But before we dig into this, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed to my channel. The subs are coming in thick and fast now, and it seems from your comments that you're enjoying the content. But if you've yet to do so, please consider hitting that big red button marked subscribe. Guys, it's free. And also, for those of you who can't quite get enough of my content, I'm going to be opening up a members only section, which is going to give those of you who subscribe just a little bit more of my personal thoughts on each couple each week. And I'm going to have a bit more of an in-depth delve into some of the issues surrounding what's happening with a lot of these couples. So stay tuned for that in the next couple of weeks or so. And finally, if you enjoy this video, please consider sharing. As they say, sharing is caring. Pass it on to somebody who you think might enjoy my sarcastic comments. Thanks guys. Right, so without further ado, I give you Gino and Jasmine. So what are the problems in this relationship? Well, they're of a very serious nature. According to Jasmine, Gino doesn't really want to be intimate with her. And in the 2 years they've been together, they've only slept together 7 times. Now, given these guys met on a sugar daddy, sugar baby website, that really is quite some going. Gino, what are you paying for? And Gino's problem, well, that's of a more financial nature. And I want to say that Gino also feels a lack of respect from Jasmine, but I think he feels pure, unadulterated hate. That's what it seems like to me. So obviously Gino's unhappy with the fact that Jasmine's refusing to sign a prenup if they get married, and is also equally unhappy with the fact that Jasmine wants him to bequeath everything to her in his will, just in case he happens to pass away before they get married. Guys, if Gino signs on the dotted line, that's at his own peril. I believe he'll be a funky smell in the attic before these two get anywhere near the altar. Now guys, it's long been my contention that Jasmine doesn't actually like Gino at all. Her every statement and every action backs this up. So first up we have the fact that she's living in the same apartment block as her ex Dane, and until this week Gino had absolutely no idea. And she was super excited to tell her ex-boyfriend about it.
I have good news.
Tell me,
because I just moved into your building.
Fantastic. I'm excited we're going to be neighbours.
And guys, as usual, she gives that maniacal laugh, even knowing this is going to really wind Gino up. And if your major problem, Jasmine, is that you don't have enough sex, riddle me this. How is having your fitter, hotter, richer, and all around better ex-boyfriend a couple of doors down going to help your sex life? Yeah, it's not. But as if living in the same apartment block as her ex-boyfriend without Gino knowing wasn't bad enough, Jasmine decides to up the ante by talking to Dane about she and Gino's relationship problems.
How's it having Gino in town?
I wish I could say like a honeymoon.
Oh, no, what happened?
It's so embarrassing, but he doesn't want to have sex with me.
That's not good.
And guys, Dane's exactly right, that isn't good. But what's way, way worse is the fact that she's talking about their personal problems and who she's talking about these problems to. And as we all know, Jasmine has a very bad case of disordered thinking. But here's what she said to production when she was somehow trying to justify her actions.
Would you be okay with Gino meeting one of his exes?
Over my dead body.
Is that a little hypocritical?
It's not being a hypocrite. I'm more trustworthy than he is. I can separate a romantic relationship from a friendship. I have enough maturity to do so, but Gino doesn't.
And it's a definite case of one rule for one and one rule for another. Jasmine thinks she's more trustworthy than Gino. I'm not quite sure about that. I pretty much think they're both as untrustworthy as each other. Jasmine's view of herself is absolutely riddled with inaccuracies. And I've got every reason to believe that Amber Heard came out of her court case far better than Gino's ever likely to come out of this relationship. And then Jasmine goes on to tell Dane, my biggest worry is moving to the United States and then being miserable. Jasmine, I can tell you one thing, you will be miserable. Why? Because you'll be there. And so in a desperate bid to help mend their relationship, Jasmine decides to take Gino salsa dancing. Guys, it's almost as if Jasmine wants Gino to fail. His dancing is, well, nothing short of a hate crime. And so after her friends had satiated themselves laughing at Gino's dancing, they all sit down and have a chat. And guys, it's really obvious that Jasmine has overshared to her friends about her and Gino's relationship, because one of the first things they ask is, since you guys have been apart for 2 years, haven't you ever cheated, Gino? Guys, is that an acceptable question? I kind of don't think it is. But there was worse to come. Jasmine had already admitted to Gino that she'd been talking to her ex Dane, and he decided to get a little bit slick with her friends.
Do you know anything about Jasmine and Dane?
She dated like in 2018, 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, so right before she met me, kinda.
Kinda, yes.
Whoop, and just like that, Gino's onto her. And I feel like Gino was kind of calm about this information, but then I have to put it down to the fact that he's never actually seen Dane. Wait until he does. I believe he's going to fly into a rage. And guys, I'd hoped on hearing this information, Gino would have taken Jasmine to task. But of course he didn't. Gino does what Gino does best. He does his passive-aggressive, I'm moody with you, and you've got just 20 questions to guess why. These guys have terrible communication skills and they can never just be straight up with each other. Anyway, the next time we see them, they're off to see the Panama Canal. And Gino explains to production that it's a great feat of engineering that he just has to see. And so as they look around the Panama Canal, Jasmine explains to Gino how locks work. Jasmine, he more than likely knows. And as he's looking around, he's kind of evading her gaze. And she said, Gino, is everything okay? Gino says, yeah. And he gives her this look. So i.e., no, it's not Jasmine. And she tells production she's really worried because since last night, Gino's been acting really weird and really off. But guys, Jasmine thinks she's got it. She's worked out what the problem is.
So baby, it's just we need to work on communication. I'm trying to communicate to you right now.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
You always get defensive?
But then she decides to display her rank lack of communication skills when she tells Gino, I was with my ex for many years and we had no problems with communication. And Gino said, well, I was married for 7 years and we also had no problems. And she said, how dare you bring up your ex? And he said, but Jasmine, you just did. And guys, this is mind-blowing to me. She literally holds Gino to another standard all the time. And then she said, Gino, you know I get really angry when you bring up your ex. And it's really weird because Jasmine seems to think that just because something angers or irritates her and she flips out, that the same thing the other way round doesn't anger or irritate the other person because they behave in a different manner to show their displeasure. So Gino goes quiet and moody when he's irritated. She literally flips out. But she seems to think just because Gino doesn't scream and shout, he's not upset or angry about the information she's delivering to him. Can she really be so numb as to think that mentions of her ex don't concern Gino? Can she? I suppose it's possible, but it's bloody unlikely. And so the couple decide to take their argument to a more scenic place, beside the Panama Canal, and the couple sit down and have a chat. And thank God finally Gino lets on that he knows what's been going on.
Yesterday when we were dancing and stuff, your friend, Yura, was saying that Dane is your ex, which I didn't even know. So can you tell me what's going on?
And then Jasmine says absolutely nothing's going on. And guys, I believe her. But I think the only reason that nothing's going on is because Dane no longer wants Jasmine. She's far too crazy for him. I think they were previously going out before. He really liked her, but he couldn't deal with her level of crazy and would rather just be friends. I think she's put herself once again in his space and she's talking to him about her problems with Gino so she can possibly lure him back in some way. I don't know, that's just my theory. Anyway, Gino looks very unconvinced and he asks how often do you speak to him, and she tells him once a day. But guys, then she tells production that Gino still doesn't know that they live in the same apartment block. And that's incidentally the super expensive apartment block that Gino's paying $3,000 a month for. And the Ebird's got a tip for all of the wannabe passport bros. You should at least try Mine for Girls in South America, from countries with a bad economy, i.e. not Panama. Anyway, she finally tells him,
He's living in the same building as I am, and I just had coffee with him a few days before you come.
What? You gotta be kidding. Out of all the buildings in the freaking Panama, you gotta pick the one that your ex is in.
Yeah, he's my friend.
Are you freaking kidding me?
And Gino then says he feels angry and betrayed because he would have never paid for this apartment if he'd have known that her ex-boyfriend was there. Yeah, that's why she didn't tell you. And Gino asks her, have you had sex since you split up? And she said we were friends with benefits for a while, but when I met you, all of that stopped. And then she admitted something which, I don't think she should have said, even though it's telling the truth, that she fantasizes about Dane when she has sex because Gino doesn't fulfill her and doesn't often want to have sex with her. And she said, you make me feel insecure. Jasmine, how do you think this is making Gino feel?
By Jasmine's definition, she absolutely cheated. Because cheating to her is even speaking to someone. If I spoke to my ex, she would blow a fit, a gasket.
And so the couple decide that this is all too much for them, and finally they decide to go for couples counselling. And so they arrive at the counsellors, and they sit down and wait. Gino's busy texting. I wonder if he's sending some more topless shots to random girls from the internet that he used to date. The truth be told, I wouldn't blame him if he was. And when they enter into the counsellor's office, I can't help but think, does she take this counselling lark very seriously? The shelves behind her are filled with trinkets and toys. Very strange. Maybe she's a family counsellor and maybe they're for kids. And the counsellor starts out by saying, very often you might need more than one session to sort out the problems that you might have. More than one! I think they'll only need one because I believe after listening to these two for more than about 15 minutes, any psychotherapist, no matter what the level of their expertise, will not have the bandwidth to deal with this shit show of a relationship. I give her 30 minutes before she's peace out. So Jasmine starts up first and she says they're finding it really difficult to maintain a relationship without arguing all the time. But what's Gino's problem? Well, his first problem is the fact that she's living in the same building as her ex-boyfriend and that she's never told him about this. And then Jasmine said, I only talked to him about our problems. Jasmine, that doesn't make anything any better. In fact, it's worse. And she said, one of my main problems is that Gino rejects me sexually. And then Jasmine continues that she's got abandonment issues because her dad left when she was 3 years old. And she feels like Gino is rejecting her all over again. And then Gino began to say, the reason that I reject you when I do is because you say hurtful words. And you're very mean towards me. Straight after that, you then decide you want sex. But guys, the counsellor then cut him off midway through what he was saying. And she said to him,
you might get her best self by, bonding with her intimately. You know what I'm saying?
What? She spends 90% of her time acting like Lucifer in lipstick. And he's just supposed to ignore this and have sex. Lady, did you get your qualifications off the internet? I'm beginning to think you did. But thankfully today we've got assertive Gino. And he's not letting either the counsellor or Jasmine off the hook quite so easily.
She's gonna have to work on those things. Okay? I don't want you to make her think she doesn't have to work on that stuff.
No,
because she does.
Oh,
very much
is this
so.
coming through that way?
Yeah.
Yes, counsellor, it is coming through that way because that's exactly what you said. And I can just hear Jasmine now saying, Gino, you have to give me intimacy no matter what. And then as if to prove the point, Jasmine said to the counsellor, my worst sex has been with Gino. And he said, this is exactly the point. This is what makes me not want to have sex with her. And for once, I agree with Gino. Jasmine, I know you're holding it against him that he ruined your career by putting nudes of you out on the internet. But I think at this point you either let it go and move on, or you finish with him. It seems like you want to hold him in consistent purgatory and you want to punish him for his wrongdoing. Do I think he needs punishing? Yes, I think the best punishment would be to no longer have Jasmine in his life. But whilst you're not doing that, I think you need to at least make an effort not to demean him to anyone walking with a pulse. Guys, at this point, I believe the tramps on the street, outside Jasmine's apartment, all know about Gino's inadequate dick. There's not a person she hasn't told. But then finally, I think the counsellor's coming round to the Ebird's way of thinking.
Another thing you need to work on is that vengeance feeling. A couple cannot move further where there's revenge because that builds bad feelings, you know?
And guys, it would seem she knows there's some sort of vengeance in this relationship. And then she goes on to say to Gino, try and focus on what you can change and don't focus on anything else. And she tells Jasmine, when you have something awful to say, write it down first so it comes out properly and not in the worst way possible. Really, lady, I believe if Jasmine wrote down every negative thought she has to say to Gino, she could be done under the Malicious Communications Act. She'd more or less be giving him all the tools he needed to stitch her right up when he no doubt goes to court to try and wriggle out of paying her any money when they finally get divorced. But then the counsellor finishes up by saying, Gino, try not to really wind Jasmine up. She's the one who blows up, so you've got to do what you can to not make her, blow. And Jasmine's sitting there, looking like the cat that got the cream whilst she's saying this. It's virtually as if she's blaming Gino for Jasmine's constant and frequent blow-ups. Remember guys, it's only a couple of weeks ago since Vegetablegate. She can blow up over anything. And then Jasmine very graciously on her behalf says, if you want me never to talk to Dane again, I will do. I'll cut him off because I believe in this relationship. That's why I'm here at counselling. I really want to marry you. And that's where we end things for this week. Guys, honestly, this counsellor pretty much wound me up because she never really got to the bottom of what makes Jasmine angry all of the time. She hit upon the fact that she knew there was some sort of vengeance within this relationship, but she never asked any probing questions with regard to this. And I believe with all my heart it is the nude photos and Gino's flippancy with everything that happened after that. And I think without addressing this in detail, I don't think they can fix anything. Jasmine's extremely fiery with everyone she meets. Remember a couple of seasons ago when her hairdresser friend said that she shouted and screamed at a girl in the salon because she managed to burn her hair as she was drying it. She's got a hot temper and I don't think that temper is really of Gino's making. I think she'd flip out no matter what he did. And honestly, I find it unconscionable that the counsellors made Gino in charge of her not blowing up. Surely Jasmine should take responsibility for her own emotional blow-ups. Another thing they didn't get to the bottom of was the fact that Gino isn't turned on when Jasmine frequently demeans him. Now, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think it's really feasible for her to write down every little diss before she's going to say it to Gino so it comes out right. She says things like, you have the worst sex I've ever known. You're rubbish in bed. You have erectile dysfunction. You don't know how to move properly in bed. And that's just about sex. She also doesn't like the way he dresses or what he eats or how he spends or saves his money. In short, she doesn't really seem to like anything about Gino. Well, except for one thing, the green card. And I think that is really the only thing she likes about Gino, that and his wallet. Anyway guys, I'd love to know what you think about this down below. To me, it's all very well Jasmine saying, I won't speak to Dane again. It's not whether you speak to him or not, it's the fact that you did it in the first place. Dane knows, all of your friends know, and Gino's the only one in the dark about it, and yet he's paying for the apartment. And I know some of you are going to come for me and say, why are you defending Gino and not Jasmine? But on this issue, I'm sorry, I can't make her right. So guys, let me know what you think in comments down below and I'll get on with my next video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. Hit it, press it, smash it, caress it. Subscribe, my friends, subscribe. And I'll see you very soon. You've been listening to Ebird Online and I bid you good day.
You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here.